Welcome to 7th grade math. That's the answer to number 9 on your homework last night. Just as a product of 3 times 4 is a number of square units in a rectangle, the product of two fractions can be shown using area models. Activity: find 3/4 times 2/3 using a geoboard. It's a geoboard it's a picture of a geoboard on the right, and what it would normally have is some pegs coming out of it where each dot is, and then you would put elastics around, which is what we're going to represent. The bands are going to represent, you'll see. The first factor is 3/4. The second factor is 2/3. So step 1, use one geoband to show fourths. So that yellow rectangle represents a band around those pegs. And there's 5 pegs, and that means there's 4 spaces, so each one is 1/4. And another to show the thirds on a geoboard. So that red rectangle represents a red band around 4 pegs. There is 3 spaces, so it's thirds. Step 2, use geobands to form a rectangle. Place a band on the peg to show 3/4 and another on the peg to show 2/3. So those are the green ones. So the reason that is 3/4 is because it's 3 spaces over, and the reason it's 2/3 is it's 2 spaces up. And connect the green bands to form a small rectangle. So that band, and the area of the small rectangle is 6 units, or 3 by 2. Remember, we're looking at the spaces between the pegs, not the pegs. Connect the yellow and red bands to form a large rectangle. The area of the large rectangle is 12 units, or 4 by 3. So 3/4 times 2/3 equals 3 times 2 over 4 times 3, or 6/12. And if we simplify that with the greatest common factor of 6, we'll get 1/2. So find 1/4 times 1/3 using a geoboard. The first factor is 1/4. Second factor is 1/3. So we're going to use a geoband to show fourths. So it's going to be 5 pegs, but remember, we're showing the spaces, which is fourths. And then another to show thirds. So we have 3 spaces there where that red band is, so that's thirds. And then use geobands to form a rectangle. So we're going to place a band on the peg to show 1/4. So we're going to go 1 space over, and we're going to put a green band there. And then on another peg to show 1/3. So notice we went up 1 space and we put a green band there. And then we're going to connect the green bands to form a small rectangle. So we have a 1 by 1 rectangle, 1 unit. And then we're going to connect the yellow and red bands to form a large rectangle. And the area of the large rectangle is 12 units, or 4 by 3. Notice it's 4 spaces times 3 spaces up. So 1/4 times 1/3 equals 1 times 1 over 4 times 3. And that equals 1/12. 1/12. Find 1/2 times 1/2 using a geoboard. The first factor is 1/2. The second factor is 1/2. Step 1, use one geoband to show halves. So notice there's 2 spaces, 3 pegs that the band goes around, but it encompasses 2 spaces. And then another to show halves. And so we're going to show 2 spaces going up. Each space is 1/2 of the total 2. And use geobands to form a rectangle. So we're going to, because it's 1/2, we're going to put green geoband at 1 and 1. Then we're going to connect the green bands to form a small rectangle. And that has a rectangle of a unit of 1. So 1 times 1. And then we're going to connect the yellow and red bands to form a large rectangle. And the area of the large rectangle is 4 units, or 2 by 2. So 1/2 times 1/2 equals 1 times 1 over 2 times 2, or 1/4. Find 3/4 times 1/2. The first factor is 3/4, and the second factor is 1/2. So we're going to do 1/4 with yellow, and we'll use red to show 1/2. Use GeoBands to form a rectangle, so it's 3/4. So we're going to go 3 spaces to the right, and it's times 1/2, so we're going to go 1 space up. And then we're going to take the green bands and form a rectangle. And we end up with a 3 unit. It's 3 by 1. Then we're going to connect yellow and red. And we're going to have 8 units because it's 4 wide times 2 high. And now 3/4 times 1/2 equals 3 times 1 over 4 times 2. If we multiply that out, it's 3/8. Find 2/3 times 1/4. So the first factor is 2/3. The second factor is 1/4. And we're going to use GeoBand to show thirds. So we have 3 spaces, so 1/3 each. And then another to show fourths. So going up this time, we have fourths. So there's 4 spaces, and each one is 1/4 of the total. And we're going to form a rectangle, so 2/3. So we're going to go 2 spaces to the right and just stick a band there. And then 1/4, we're going to go 1 space up, stick a band there. And then we're going to expand those bands into a rectangle, and we get a rectangle that is 2 units, or 2 wide by 1 high. And then we'll connect the yellow and red bands to form a larger rectangle, and the area of the larger rectangle is 12 units, or 3 wide times 4 high. So 2/3 times 1/4 equals 2 times 1 over 3 times 4. And we get 2/12. And if we take the greatest common factor of 2, we'll get 1/6. Activity, find 2 times 1/4. 2 can also be stated as 2 over 1. So restate as 2 over 1 times 1 over 4. And then if we multiply the numerators, 2 times 1, and multiply the denominators, 1 times 4, we'll get 2/4. And if we use the greatest common factor of 2, we can simplify that to 1/2. Find 3 times 2/3. 3 can also be stated as 3 over 1. So we'll restate the expression as 3 over 1 times 2 over 3. Then we'll multiply the numerators and then multiply the denominators. So we get 3 times 2 over 1 times 3. And that equals 6/3. And we can simplify that to 2 because 6 over 3, or 6 divided by 3, equals 2. 2 times 2/5. 2 can also be stated as 2 over 1. So we'll restate the expression as 2 over 1 times 2 over 5. We'll multiply the numerators, and then we'll multiply the denominators. So 2 times 2 is 4, and 1 times 5 is 5. So we get 4/5. Find 4 times 1/2. 4 can also be stated as 4 over 1. So we'll restate the expression as 4 over 1 times 1/2. If we multiply the numerators, 4 times 1, and then multiply the denominators, 1 times 2, we'll get 4 over 2. We can simplify that down to 2 because 4 divided by 2 equals 2. Find 3 times 3 over 4. 3 can also be stated as 3 over 1. So restate 3 over 1. Our expression is 3 over 1 times 3 over 4. And then we'll multiply the numerators, 3 times 3, and then we'll multiply the denominators, 1 times 4. So we get 3 times 3 is 9, over 1 times 4 is 4. And we will simplify that, and we'll change that from an improper fraction to a mixed number of 2 and 1/4. Reviewing concepts, how to write mixed numbers as improper fractions. So if we have 6.5, we're going to multiply 6 times the denominator of 2 and get 12. And then we're going to add that to the numerator 1, and we will get 13. So to restate that, it's 6 times 2 plus 1 over 2, and we get 13 over 2. 2 3/4, so if we convert that to an improper fraction, we're going to multiply 2 times the denominator 4, and then add it to the numerator 3. So we'll state it like that. So we have 2 times 4 plus 3 over 4. So 2 times 4 is 8, plus 3 is 11 over 4. 1 and 7/8, convert that to an improper fraction. Multiply 1 times 8, and then add 8 to 7. So 1 times 7 is 7, plus 8 over 8 is 15 over 8. 3 and 4/7, we'll multiply the whole number 3 times the denominator 7. Then we'll add that product to the numerator 4. So 3 times 7 is 21, plus 4 is 25 over 7. And then 5 and a 6, we'll convert that to an improper fraction, and we will multiply 5 times the denominator 6, which is 30, and add that to the numerator 1, which is 31 over 6. Activity, find 1 2/3 times 1/2. So we need to turn the mixed number into an improper fraction before we can multiply. So restate the expression as 5/3 times 1/2, and we'll multiply the numerators 5 times 1, and we'll multiply the denominators 3 times 2, and we get 5 over 6. Find 1 1/4 times 1/5. So we need to turn the mixed number into an improper fraction. So remember, we're going to do that by saying 1 times 4 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So we can restate that expression as 5/4 times 1/5. Then if we multiply the numerators 5 times 1, and then multiply the denominators 4 times 5, we're going to get 5 over 20. And then if we divide out the greatest common factor of 5, we'll get 1/4. 2 1/2 times 3. We need to turn the mixed number into an improper fraction, so we'll multiply 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So our new expression is 5/2 times 3/4. We multiply the numerators 5 times 3 over the denominators 2 times 4. We will get 15/8. And if we simplify that to a mixed number, we get 1 7/8. 1 2/3 times 1/3. We need to convert the mixed number to an improper fraction before we can multiply. So 1 times 3 is 3, plus 2 is 5. So our new expression is 5/3 times 1/3. We multiply the numerators 5 times 1, and then multiply the denominators 3 times 3. We get 5/9. No homework tonight. Hope you guys have a great evening, and I will see you in class.